Feeling friends is this concept that I came up with laying in bed one night. I have all these close friends who have these wonderful stories that can help change the world, life experiences that can help other people believe in themselves, hold tight to their dreams and make their dreams reality. On Feeling Friends, we talk about God, we talk about love, relationships. I have celebrity friends, I have non-celebrity friends. I have church members, family members. But when you watch and listen to Feeling Friends, you will learn and you will laugh. It's a community of friends helping to build each other up. So tune in to Feeling Friends every Sunday on WHCR 90.3 FM, or you can catch me on YouTube at Feeling Friends Radio. All right, I'll see you there. WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. What's up, everybody? It's me, Phil, and I'm back here live on air with you, my friends. I've got a special guest live today, Ben Cory Jones. I've been knowing him for years, and he's live here in the studio. So without further ado, I'm going to bring my friend Ben into the studio. What's up, Ben? Cory Jones.
What's up, bro? How you doing?
It's so good to see you.
I'm happy to see you, bro. I'm excited about this. I'm excited to chat, man. Like, congratulations. Like, this is dope. Your show is dope.
Thank you. Listen, I've got to tell the audience, when I first got to LA, I've been knowing you for a very long time.
Yeah.
And you were one of the first people in LA to say, Phil, come on, let's go hang out. You took me to a restaurant across from the Grove. I'll never forget that.
Uh-huh.
And you said, I got a dream. I came here from New Jersey. I'm gonna make it happen, and I'll never forget you because at the time we were making it. You had transition.
We were making it. Yeah, we were struggling. Yeah,
we were struggling, and you used to take me to the airport. I used to give you $20. You had a white Avalon at the time.
I had a white Toyota.
You put it in the yeah. And every time I would give you $20, you put it like in a little ashtray. You never used it. You was like, oh my God.
I love these stories though. I love these stories. Like, this is what it's all about.
And I'll never forget, you said, this is what you need to do. And I'll never forget, we were at your house and you had these boards. And this is just a memory of how blessed you are and how long and how further God can really bless you. And I'll never forget, you had these you were writing down, I'm going to be a writer. And you wrote down everything. You put it on the wall and you had your layout. And so here we are today.
Yeah.
You are doing excellent. So just tell the people who you are. And I just had to tell you that to say thank you, brother, for encouraging me.
Man, I appreciate that. Thanks a lot. That means the world. It means more than you know. I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for having me. My name is I'm Ben Cory Jones. I'm a writer, producer, director, showrunner, occasional actor. Originally from Memphis, Tennessee, and man, I've been blessed and very fortunate to have achieved my dreams of becoming a writer. I've written on amazing shows, specifically shows about the Black experience. To be honest, I've written on Hand of God for Amazon. I had a great run on Insecure as a writer, producer, and an actor. I keep saying that because I'm like an actor on the show. Very briefly, I had the chance to write on Underground for WGN, and I've worked on Games People Play for BET. I've done Claws for a stint. I did Kingdom Business on BET Plus, and I co-created Boomerang with Lena Waithe on BET. And so, yeah, man, I'm just a writer's writer, honestly, and I'm just happy to be here to talk about it, man. It's so good to see you, bro.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. You got to excuse me. We're in New York, and I'm doing it from my home right now, and there's construction going on. Awesome. For some reason, it feels like they're right next door. So please forgive me, audience, if you hear some bricks. Listen, let's discuss your time in Memphis. I mean, so many great people have come through Memphis, and you came through Memphis. What was that upbringing like for you?
Yeah, Glorilla's from Memphis, which I'm sure she's put a lot of spotlight on the city. You know what's funny, man? I was actually talking to a friend of mine who I grew up with since like first grade, and like Memphis is everything to me. Memphis is my heart, it's my soul. Like Memphis is I come from like a big family, like an extended family. Like I come from like an all Black sort of middle class working neighborhood. And Memphis is just in my bones. Like it's my bread and butter. It's like everything that I am is from Memphis. And what I love about Memphis is like, it's big enough that like you can still feel like you're in the city, but it's small enough that it feels like I'm in like an intimate town or intimate city. You know what I'm saying? So, and what's interesting is that my parents met at Lane College and HBCU. My dad plays Kappa, my mom plays Delta, and my mom and all three of her sisters pledged Delta at Lane, which is in Nashville, which is in Jackson, Tennessee, like 2 hours from here. My mom died of breast cancer when I was 7 years old. And so I was raised by a single dad, but also I have like a coterie of like aunts who are all Deltas, who are just like, the baddest women I could have ever imagined. So like I had even though I lost my mom at a young age, I had the luxury of being raised by these aunts who were around me, and like everything was about family. Everything was about going to church. Everything was about like just trying to be the best person you can be. And like, you know, I just feel like and my dad was like a sports dad, you know what I'm saying? Like he was just like basketball coach, baseball coach, football coach, like, and you know, there were guys like my dad used to drive a van, and he would like go around the city of Memphis and pick up like other young guys who didn't have fathers and like take them to the basketball court or the baseball. We were very baseball heavy. My dad played in the major leagues for like a couple of years until my mom got pregnant with my brother. So it's my brother's fault that my dad didn't finish the major leagues. I tease him about that all the time. But, you know, like to grow up in the South as a black man with the dad the way I had, who like was literally like, and he was just my biggest inspiration. It was just such a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Like I realized the beauty of growing up in a place like Memphis, as I've lived in all these different places, Atlanta, New York, LA, that like, it's nothing like a good Southern town. I'm a Southern boy at my heart. And you know what I'm saying? Like Southern hospitality all the way, bro.
Yeah. Memphis is a great place. I mean, you talked about your mother, and that always touched me when you said that, because you really pushed through. What was that like for you? I mean, I know it was tough. Could you explain to the audience what that was?
It was extremely tough. I actually don't talk about this a lot, but I'm glad to sort of bring it up now because my family has genetic breast cancer, right? So my grandmother had ovarian cancer, which was the gene for breast cancer. My grandmother had 4 daughters. My mom and my aunts, they all got breast cancer, right? And so I lost my mom and one aunt, and I had two aunts who battled the disease their entire life. My brother has a daughter. Journey is 12 now. When she gets 18, she'll start to get tested for the gene. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it's one of those things where, man, it's extremely tough. But it also just like, you know, I think grief binds you together to a certain extent. But bro, I got to tell you, like I'm my mother's son though. My mom was a school teacher. Yeah. She was a writer.
Okay.
Like, my mom got her master's degree during chemotherapy. Wow. And yeah, I mean, it was difficult, but I just sort of like, and also like one of the things that my mom left, my mom was a voracious reader. And so she had a bookshelf of books in the house, right? And like my brother, while they're at the batting cage, I would actually read the books on my mom's bookshelf to feel a connection to her. So bro, I'm like 8 years old reading The Color Purple or reading like Wuthering Heights at 9 years old. And like, cause I'm just trying to get close to my mom. Like, and I'm also reading like her romance novels at like 10. And when I look back, I'm like, oh, that's why I'm the way I am. Like, that's why like I'm kind of crazy and like kind of like crazy about
super
this.
Advanced, super advanced.
Super, like, you know what I'm saying? But it was really a way to connect to my mom. Like I was like, well, if I'm reading all the things that she read, like I just sort of feel connected to her, you know? Yeah, man, that really it like, I don't know if I'll ever really fully understand the impact that losing my mom had on me as a kid, but I just think every single day I'm learning what that looks like and how that care manifests itself in my life. But it just meant that my extended family wrapped their arms around me tighter.
Absolutely. Do you feel a spirit and presence around you?
I do all the time. Yeah, like my mom I get these cheeks from her. Like I kind of like I as my brother and I both age, we look like her. I definitely feel her spirit. Like honestly, like, you know, I feel like I'm not only living my life and my anointing, I feel like I'm living my mother's anointing too. Like that's sort of the responsibility I feel. Yes. Like she died when she was 36, you know. Yeah, and so like, and she was a writer and a reader and like an educator. So I feel like this isn't just about me, like, you know. But also, my mom was just like the coolest mom. Like I was the kid that was in all the pageants and all the and my family calls me Corey. They're like, oh, sign Corey up for it, sign him up for it. Like I was like doing commercials as a kid in Memphis, like anything, because I was just the kid. I'm like, I'll do it. You know what I'm saying? And like she definitely did that. You know, so it just creates very fond memories. You know, and I try to honor her legacy a lot. You know,
thank you for sharing.
That does actually make me a writer. Like I don't play no games about writing, and when it comes to like emotional truth, right? Because like I was a kid, 8, 9 years old, going to funerals and trying to understand life and trying to understand how do I deal with these emotions. Like it shows up in my work a lot.
Thank you for sharing that. It's very important. You touched on anointing. And I love the fact that you're very open with your spirituality on Instagram. Let's talk about that in your faith. What does your faith in God mean to you?
It's everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what's interesting? I think about this regularly. Like, I mean, we all grew up going to church, right? Like, it was
especially in the South. You know, Memphis, I have big churches down.
It's a church and a church's chicken on every corner in Memphis. Like, so like you grew up going to church, and also like if you don't eat fried chicken after church, it don't count. You know what I'm saying? That's just but somewhere along the way, I don't know. Like, I just felt like, you know, there's like Instagram memes that talk about like we're the aunts and uncles at the cookout now. We're supposed to be with the girl. Yes. Yeah, and I sometimes felt like as I was on my journey to be in this sort of entertainment career, my faith just kind of like there was nobody yelling at me to get up and go to church, right? So I had to really find my way back to God. And I'm gonna keep it all the way real with you. This business that I work in, entertainment, is so up and down. It's so fickle. It's so like it's just you have to. It's fleeting.
You never know,
right? So I have had to.
Not to cut you off. We have friends who work on something they got a hit 10 years ago, and 10 years later, still working and doing pilots in between, but it didn't get picked up. That's the reality of TV.
Yeah. So I found that my faith is the thing that is not fickle. It like God is my stable ground. I had to find something stable to plant my life in, because I work in a business that is very subjective, that is very, but I love it. But I realize that I'm nothing without my faith. And also, again, it connects me to my mom, you know what I'm saying? Like, but it's very important to me. And I'm also very open about it, because faith ain't something we talk a lot about in Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, I go to church in LA. I go to City of Refuge, where the Reverend Bishop Noel Jones is my pastor.
I used to go to City of Refuge. I love City of Refuge.
Yeah. So, and like, for me, I can only speak what works for me. And I have to be based in my faith, because I'm a creative, and like, I need something that's stable in my life, you know, and God is the stabilizer and stable force for me.
Well, that is the only thing that's constant is God. So I love that about you, because you post that and you tell people, and there's nothing wrong with being ashamed, because you don't want people to be ashamed of you when it's time, because all of this stuff could go away. It could go away quickly. And we see that in Hollywood. You know, I want to touch on that. You know, we have a lot of people who just want the fame and the fortune, but they don't know what comes behind it. It's a lot of stuff that goes on in Hollywood. Yeah. What advice would you give them about their trajectory in Hollywood?
You know, what I love about talking to you right now on your show, and you have this platform, man, like, you and I have known each other for a long time, and like, and we both were on the come up together. I mean, and like, if I'm being totally honest, I feel like I bemoan all of that, or like, it was very hard, because like, it does take 10 years to become an overnight success. And those years that you and I were just kind of hanging out, making it, just trying to like, give me a ride to the airport, like throw me some money, like I can buy some lunch. Like, I have found that there's one thing that nobody can take away from me, is that I put in the work, I put in the hours, I have the talent, right? Like, I grew up reading and writing, but I also, I spent those years, I've worked every job there is to work in entertainment. PA, writer's assistant, script coordinator. I've had a showrunner throw a script in my face before. Like, I've experienced everything that one can experience on this road to being a writer, in that time that I fully committed myself to doing this. And so I just tell people, like, you're not gonna skip any steps, and you don't want to skip any steps, right? Because when I get all these sometimes no's when I'm trying to pitch shows or pitch movies, like, at the end of the day, I fall back on, this is in my bones now, because I remember like driving to the airport and my car would stop. Like, I remember I came into the business back in the time where, I sound so old right now, but I'm not, but this is when like you had to physically deliver scripts to actors' houses, right? Yes. If I was like a script, remember that time where it's like I had to print out the script, I had to put it in an envelope, I had to call a courier service, I had to get the script over to the actor's house, or if it was on the weekend, this is one funny story. I remember my friends threw me a surprise birthday party, and I was working as a script coordinator on a USA show called Fairly Legal. And the script coordinator is like, once a writer finishes a script, they give it to me and I clean it up. I fix the typos. I put it in the right, whatever formatting, right, or whatever. My friends are throwing me a surprise birthday party, but I'm like, I can't. It was Saturday. It was a Sunday, and a script was coming out for work for what they were going to film on Monday. And if I didn't do my job, production would like shut down. So I remember like telling my friend, I remember putting my surprise birthday party on hold so I can get this script out. Wow. Right. And so like I tell, like, when I meet people, like, you want to go through those things though. You want to have those moments, because at the end of the day, nobody can take anything away from me because I put in this work and I put in this time. Like, I put in my 10,000 hours. Like, there's no way around it. So you might as well just do it. You know what I'm saying?
Unless your family runs CBS or you got to put in the work.
But to that point, even if your parents run CBS, the great equalizer is what's on that page.
That is
right.
True.
And it don't matter how much nepotism you got. If you can't write, if you can't act, you see what I'm saying? So like,
absolutely.
I use the example of Issa Rae a lot because she's a dear friend of mine. I mean, you know her. Like people look at Issa but okay, yeah, she created her web series Aqua Black Girl, right? And then she got a show on HBO. But people, and I was with her around this time because like when I got to LA, like Lena, Waithe, Issa Rae, Justin Simeon, like these were the homies, and we were all trying to make we were all just trying to make it. And like I saw how much it took Issa to make that web series. Like, it ain't just no overnight thing. Okay, boom, I had a web series and boom, I got an HBO show. No, like Issa had to raise money for Aqua Black Girl. Like, she had to market it herself. She had to have meetings upon meetings. It was just like it's never a quick and easy thing, but you don't want it to be. But I mean, like, I guess my advice is also, I just want to encourage people, like, just start, just do it now, because it may take a while. But you got to start. You got to give yourself.
You have to keep going. That's what I learned about entertainment, because I gave up interactive for a little bit, but I came back to it.
Yeah.
My mentor, he was like, "Are you still acting? I'm gonna put you in this movie, but you got to keep going." And
but by the way, we all give up. I gave up. Like but also to that point, not to cut you off, but if you're doing this right, you should hit a brick wall. You should hit a moment where it's like, I don't want to do this anymore. If you're doing it right, that means that you're exerting yourself. That means you're putting yourself out there. I find that the most successful people in this business are the ones that, like, they just have a strong desire to want to do this, but they don't take no for an answer, and they allow the waves of this industry to flow. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just kind of have to.
So they always say, they talk about the journey, enjoy the journey. Because I don't want to do this journey. This too much.
I hate that. I hate that.
You knew me when I was skinny. We were trying. I had to go to work. I had some
food. Skinny. I don't know. Like I
it's a lot, but you have to. It's really a ride. You have to just ride the wave and just do.
You got to ride the wave. You got to ride. But this one thing I will say though, like it's funny. I'm a student of this business. Like, in my spare time. Like, if I'm not watching some show that I'm following, I'm watching a Ted Sarandos, who runs Netflix, talk on YouTube. I'm watching a Spike Lee interview. I'm watching Issa Rae do a keynote address. Like, and it's funny because, like, my brother, like, we're super close, like best friends. Like, my brother can talk about sports. Like, he can give you stats. He can give you numbers. He can talk about something in the 80s. I don't know nothing about sports like that. I know a little bit about sports, but if you ask me about actors or Scarlett Johansson or Clive Owen or Spike Lee movie, like I have an encyclopedia knowledge, because like this is just what I live and breathe. And like I guess I just want people listening who may want to do this, like, you got to just jump all the way into this. So you can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out. You got to quit that job. You got to just like take the pay cut. Because you might as well just do it. You gotta, because this is an industry.
You have to try. You gotta try.
You gotta like move.
Now, would you say quit the job with a little bit of money in the savings account? Especially
Don't worry about all that. That is gonna make you hustle more. Don't worry about any of that. Like, and you talk about faith, and I'm so glad that you always talk about faith in your interviews. That's where you gotta have some faith. You gotta have faith that if I take the step, God will take the leap.
Yes,
Like, but you got to take this step, and you got to like just be like. I remember when my former career, I was an investment banker on Wall Street, right out of Morehouse. And
you had a house. You were doing very well.
Yeah, I had a house.
I remember when you had everything. You were doing extremely.
I was doing super well in New York City. Like I was, and then I became a communications executive, and so like I was like 23 years old. I was like vice president at Bank of America Securities in corporate communications, and I had bought a condo in New Jersey. And then all of a sudden the market started to like wane a bit. And I was I have a degree in literature from Morehouse, but a minor in finance. And like, I got to New York, but like Grey's Anatomy just came on. This is like 2008. Grey's Anatomy was on, The Sopranos, The Game, The Office. And I was like, I want to write on Grey's Anatomy. That's exactly what I would start telling myself. And again, this is 2009. And I remember telling all my friends in New York, like, I'm moving to LA to be a writer. They were like, what? This is, mind you, this is before YouTube.
Right.
This is before people kind of understood that, like, but I understood it. I understood because I had always been trying to find where I could be a writer. But I hadn't found. I thought journalism would be it. I thought communications would be it. But it was TV writing. It was definitely TV writing. So when I remember my best friend Kim, she threw me a going away party in New York, and people were like, we don't know if this is gonna pan out for him. He's going all the way over there. We don't know. We just don't know. But like, again, it's that leap of faith. It's literally a leap of faith. You got to take the leap of faith, you know.
It really is. And I'll never forget, you always said, I want to be a writer. And we were like, okay, we are going to be. And so your group of friends, they always were encouraging. And I think you always need that base of support to make a difference. Let's go back to Morehouse. Yeah. And, you know, you were there at Morehouse. You pledged the wrong fraternity. We won't talk about that. No,
that's fun.
Let's talk about your experience at Morehouse and the importance.
Yeah. My dad's a Kappa, so like I had no choice. But also like that's who I related to at Morehouse. Right. You know, what's funny, to take it to you know, I got a full ride to Morehouse, which if anybody knows, getting a full ride to an HBCU is it's difficult because these schools are not super funded. But this is when I knew I was a writer. I was in high school. And again, like I'm an English guy, writing guy, and I was applying to Morehouse, and I had like good grades and a good test scores, SAT scores, ACT scores, but it wasn't like full ride scores, right? But I was a good student. I took honors and AP classes and all those things. But the essay question to get into Morehouse was, who's the most influential person in your life? And so I never forget. I wrote an essay. I had a quote from Henry David Thoreau at the top. And I wrote about how my mom was the most inspirational person in my life, right? And I remember getting like, I remember the principal read my essay to give me feedback on it because she was a former English teacher before she became a principal. And I submitted my essay to Morehouse. The admissions director at Morehouse called my dad. This is my senior year of high school. He called my dad and he was like, hey, Mr. Jones, we just want to tell you that this essay that your son wrote is, and also like I wrote about how my mom got her master's degree while doing chemotherapy. Like I just went in, like I was just like, very vulnerable about it. And the admissions director called my dad, was like, Mr. Jones, this is the best essay we've ever read. This is Morehouse now. And so they invited me and my dad down.
That's huge.
Yeah. So they invited me and my dad down to tour the college. They told me I was majoring in English. Wow. They told me I was a writer. And so like, I was like, okay, I guess I'm a writer. I guess I'm going to do this thing, man. And so, well, here's the thing about Morehouse. Like, man, it's a life-changing experience. Like, going to school in the AUC is, like, beautiful, as you know, going to Clark Atlanta. I remember how you always would correct me. You're like, it's not Clark. It's Clark.
It's Clark Atlanta. You better
Clark Atlanta, bro. Like, no. And my little sister's the same. My little sister was Clark Atlanta. She finished. Okay. Yeah. Morehouse is the best thing to ever, like, I'm encourage every black man to go to, like, AUC, go to Morehouse. And, like, it just made me have this bar of excellence for myself, right? I had that coming into it, but it really set this bar of excellence for me. It really made us believe that, like, we were not to be messed with. It made us believe, because, like, Morehouse, like, when I got to New York after undergrad, like, I would be in meetings and rooms with guys from Harvard and guys from Stanford, and, you know, and I could walk the walk and talk the talk, and I didn't feel like I was any less than, right? The thing that I had to sort of like adjust to after Morehouse and when I got into entertainment, like Morehouse doesn't necessarily teach me how to be vulnerable, though. It doesn't necessarily teach me how to, because I think Morehouse is very, and again, I love Morehouse, but Morehouse is very focused on making sure that I have the skills and the tools and the acumen to make it in society as a black man, right? And one of the things that I had to kind of journey and struggle through when I got to LA is that, well, I also need to learn how to be emotional and vulnerable and have this, like, this air of like being able to give of myself in a way, right? So it's like, I mean, because the image of the Morehouse guys is very professional, very, like, you know what I'm saying? And I think one of the things that if I could go back to Morehouse, I would probably spend a lot more time writing and a lot more time like thinking about like, how can I marry this sort of like high bar of excellence professionally with like this sort of ability to be vulnerable and be honest, not necessarily honest, but be vulnerable with people. You see, does that make
absolutely
sense?
Totally makes sense, because Morehouse, there is this Morehouse man.
This is Morehouse, yes.
They're it's all about business. I don't have emotions. It is what it is. My frat brothers over. It's like, hey, do you smell, dog? Smell it. But it is a Morehouse stereotype. But you all, and so that is important. But the AUC is a place. It's unlike any other place. I had a cousin with the Spelman. It teaches us things that we just never knew. Even if we did come from a strong family, it teaches you something that you take for the rest of your life, and it's a powerful experience. Listen, you have a responsibility as a writer. And I know you take your responsibility well. Talk about the importance of Black writers in rooms making a difference and changing the narrative for us.
That's a big question. But man, I'm glad you asked that. When I got to LA, like 2008, 2009, it was like on the heels of this sort of like Black TV renaissance that we had, like Martin, Living Single, Moesha,
right,
Girlfriends. Those shows had just disappeared, right? And like none of us could really understand what happened. I'll tell you what happened. The industry as the industry widens, they don't necessarily have a focus on creating Black content, and also it takes in my opinion, like a group of people that like when I got to LA and I met Issa and Lena and Justin and Ashley Blaine Feathers and Jenkins, like all these people, and we were like, we're telling Black stories, period. Because if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. And I think I still have this sort of like rah-rah, like that. And Morehouse gave me that. Like, I still have this, like, you don't need Ben Cory Jones to write a show starring the white lady. That's you don't need me for that. You need me to write the show that Don Cheadle's starring in, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you need me to write those shows. And so, because if we don't do it, and if I'm not pounding the pavement to make sure Black stories get told, they won't get told. Like these networks and studios, and production companies, they're not like, there was a moment, I think, like post George Floyd or around that area where it's like, okay, we need some Black content, but it's always a wave. And I'm very clear about that. Like, it's always a wave, but what should not be a wave is artists who are specifically here to tell stories about the Black experience. And I'm one of those people, like, I'm going to put Black characters. I'm going to do these things. And I mean, this is like the access and the reach that we have as artists and storytellers in Hollywood. Like, it's phenomenal, but I'm very clear about the fact that unless they're Black writers, there will be no Black shows.
Absolutely.
Like you got, and so like we have.
Who else is gonna tell our story?
You got to tell our stories, yeah. And like
from Indiana,
what's interesting? The industry goes through these phases where, and I don't think this happens as much anymore, but they go through these phases where they'll get just like a great white writer to write a Black story. A lot of your favorite Black movies from the 90s, whether you know it or not, were written by white men, right? Until the internet came aboard, and then the internet be like, nah, that don't sound, or like, what I love now is that audiences can spot the specificity. And I think, and I know on Insecure specifically, one of the things that I love that Issa Rae would always say in that writer's room, she'd be like, Ben, like, how exactly would you say this? If you were on a date right now and like y'all were doing, and this happened, what would you exactly say? I'd be like, child, or like, I was so, and like, as a writer, I hadn't experienced that before, right? I hadn't experienced, like, and shout out to Issa for like pushing us to always, because that's how she writes. She's one of the most impeccable writers in Hollywood, in my opinion. But she just writes how we talk. Like,
she writes with realness, for real.
Yeah, it's realness. And so that's what we're constantly trying to do here. Because like when we can give audiences, and that's what I remember I would come home to Memphis as I was on Insecure for like a Christmas party or whatever. And I remember like one of my friends from high school who's a lawyer here in Memphis who got like he had like a really swanky Christmas party. I walk in the party and these young Black millennials, they're having a knockdown drag out about Insecure. They're like, he shouldn't have done that and she shouldn't have did this. They were so invested, like these are real people. But I'm like, we worked hard to make them real. We worked hard to make sure the casting, the clothing, the language was all stuff that is real, right? And that was a concerted effort. I guess what I feel about this is like, like I want to encourage more people just to come out here and do this. Come out and write these things, like write these, like, and the trick to writing is if you can be, you know this about acting, right? You know how like people are like, people, oh, you should be an actor. You're funny or you're charismatic. The moment you put a camera on them, they freeze, right?
Absolutely.
The same thing is true for a writer. If you're a writer, if you can find a way to talk like you and your homegirl talk, and put that down on paper and bring it out to folks in LA, like Boys in the Hood is a prime example. Like they were talking and like that script won Oscars, right? So like nobody should ever think that your story doesn't matter, because it does. But it's just like if you can get that down on paper, you can change the world. Honestly, is how I feel.
Your voice and your story matters. Yeah. If you could, you know, Issa Rae talks about working alongside, I guess, Lena or whatever, instead of going up. What do you think about that? And I think that's what you do very perfectly, is working with your classmates, your teammates, people your age. What do you think about that?
I mean, it's totally the way to go, man. Like, it's like there should not be an expectation that I'm supposed to like master this whole Hollywood thing by myself. It's impossible, right? I remember when we were coming up in the business, like even like Lena specifically, like if she had a meeting, it was like I had a meeting, because she'd be talking about me in a meeting, or I'd be talking about her in my meeting. You know what I'm saying? Or I'd be mentioning, oh, my boy Phil. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to do that. Like we gotta pull each other up together. You know, Hollywood is there's a certain architecture and hierarchy in Hollywood, right? That's not going nowhere. This is not going to change, right? And so I tell people, like, get you an agent, get you a manager, get you a lawyer. I mean, hell, get you 2 agents, get you 2 managers.
Right.
Like, you need as many people this is my analogy. Like, you need as many people pushing the rock up the hill as possible. You know, like, especially now, like with the internet and like everybody's wanting to do this, right? But like, you just kind of need that support. You need faith, you need family, but you need your crew. Like, you need a crew of people. Like, back in the day, like when we were all coming up, like me and my friends, we would host like table reads. They come to my house, I get a bottle of wine, and we just have a table read. And man, like that stuff started to catch on. People are like, "Who are these young black
absolutely
folks over here doing something?" And we would get noticed off of that. You know what I'm saying? So like, my message is like, if you're a young black creative, grab 5 people and y'all start a table read at somebody's house, and then y'all start you know what I'm saying? Like, just you got to make noise in this town. You got to find a way to make noise. You know.
And when you put God first, everything's gonna work out for you. You cannot fail. Well, if you could go back to your 16-year-old self, what would you tell yourself?
My 16-year-old self. You know what? Honestly, I would tell him, like, bro, you got it. So just slow down and relax a bit. Like, relax into your anointing. Relax into your talent. You know, I think a lot of times for me, it was all about like this run really fast to achieve my goals and my dreams. But like, God will take care of a lot of stuff. And we are all supremely talented, right? And like,
absolutely,
it's just this confidence that I would sort of tell him to have. I would be like, you can calm down a bit. You're like, I would tell myself to be a lot more confident in my abilities. Confidence is something that I'm always growing into. Like, I mean, I have meetings every other day, and I'm like, I don't necessarily call it imposter syndrome, but I would call it like, I have to believe in myself way more than they believe in me, you know? And I have to, even if I don't truly believe it, like I had a meeting with, I sold a movie to HBO Films about 2 years ago, which never got made. Okay. And I had a moment. This is back when this was pre-Zoom, so we were still going in person. And then like I had a moment sitting in the HBO headquarters lobby, and I'm like, I'm about to have a meeting with the head of HBO Film, like literally one of the most powerful film executives in Hollywood. And I was just sitting there like, you know what I'm saying? But when I got into that meeting, I turned something on. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's at Morehouse or I turned. And that's the other thing, man. Like, I try to bring Memphis with me in these meetings. I try to bring Morehouse. I try to bring New York. I try to bring, you know, my queerness. I try to bring all that into a room, into a meeting. Like, I have to, like, because there's a lot of people who can do what I do, but there's only one me, right? There's only one me. So, like,
there will never be another you.
There'll be another me, right? Forever. And this skin ain't gonna look this good forever. So, like.
Well, you know, get your little Botox. Little plastic surgery. Listen, I've got this new thing called 10 seconds flash round with Philip. I got 10 questions for you, and I got to go fast because these people next door, I don't know what they do with these bricks. So I got 10 questions for you, all right? Don't think about it, just say it, okay?
Gotcha.
All right, so we start out with question number 1. 227 or the Jeffersons? You got to pick.
The Jeffersons.
Moesha or the Parkers?
Moesha.
If you had to choose one of these people to be your line brothers, who would it be? Lawrence Walker or Crenshaw?
Crenshaw.
James Baldwin or Ralph Ellison?
James Baldwin.
Toni Morrison or Alice Walker?
Ooh, Alice Walker.
The Greenleafs or the Have and Have-Nots?
Have and Have-Nots.
Los Angeles or Memphis?
Memphis.
Who is known as the king of rock and roll from your home state?
Elvis.
That's what they say, right?
I'll give you an Elvis with a comma BB King.
Yeah,
you may not want this. I used to work at Graceland in high school. Elvis is dope. Like Elvis.
I love Elvis. Don't get me started. I love Elvis.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Zuma Beach or Laguna Beach?
Laguna Beach.
All right. You answered those really great. Listen, I want you to get a final thoughts to our audience. You have been absolutely amazing. God has really blessed you. And I thank you so much for coming on. I want you to tell.
Likewise, bro.
Give our audience a little something.
I guess final thoughts, like, man, like if I can do it, you can do it. And that goes for anybody. Like, do it. Just do it today. Don't stop. Don't make any excuses. You are going to have to take a big leap, but lean on God. But you do it. You have to do it. You must do it. We need you to do it. So, like, I just want to encourage people, do that thing that you've always wanted to do. Open that business, write that screenplay, become that actor, go to medical school. Like, just do the thing. Like, and do it when you're like, when you really feel like, oh, I don't know if I should do it. Just do it. And with no holds barred, like, just make the leap, quit the job. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not telling people to abandon their families or anything like that, but like,
yes,
big risks with big risk comes big rewards. And I know that, and I'm living proof of that, and God will see you through it.
Absolutely. Anything is possible. Thank you so much, Cory Jones. Hold tight for me in the green room for me, all right? Listen, anything is possible. Everything is possible. Ben Cory Jones told you that. Check him out. Look for me. I'm sure he's got some great things. We forgot to ask him what's coming up next, but he has some great things coming. You listen to Phil and Friends right here on WHCR 90.3 FM, the voice of Harlem. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.